Hey guys, thanks for tuning in and welcome to the first episode of the Stockton Slap Report. My name's Frank. Just want to give you a little bit of a breakdown of myself. I've been watching MMA for about 10 years now, maybe a little bit more. Um, Pretty much of a hardcore fan for the most part, and I got my co-host here today with me, Travis. How you doing, Travis?
I'm doing pretty good, Frank. A little bit about me, real quick. My name is Travis. Been watching MMA since my birthday, January 12th. And casual fan, he's the expert. Just throwing it out there. How are you doing, Frank?
I'm doing great, my man. Looking forward to doing the first podcast, slash video, that is. Just wanted to throw it out there to you guys. This is going to be the first part of UFC Fight Night 60, Bloomfield, Colorado. Just gonna turn around and talk about the preliminary fights. We got 5 fights to sit and bullshit with you guys about. Yeah, so without further ado, let's go ahead and get it started. First fight of the night is going to be James Moonwalker Matonchi fighting against Cody the Pfister. Um, yeah, go ahead, get your laughs out, buddy. Ain't no big deal.
Hey, his name is just awesome. Pfister.
Yeah, I agree with you. Moonwalker ain't that bad himself. I mean, if you've seen him fight a couple of times, you guys are definitely going to be able to tell. He's great on the feet. He is 5 out of 7 of his wins coming by finish. 2 losses by decision, which is okay. And then you got Cody Pfister. He's a fairly decent fighter. There's not many videos on him on YouTube or anything like that, but all in all, 2 years are elder for the Moonwalker, and the same height, same weight, whole entire 9. Um, 7-2 coming from James Mouton, and 11-3-1 coming from Cody Pfister. Uh, Cody Pfister has 7 out of 11 finishes for his fight career. He's been finished twice by submission, and he's lost once by decision. Me personally, I feel like James Moutonchi is going to end up possibly taking this fight by decision. I don't feel like there's going to be a finish coming, and if there is, it'd possibly be by submission, just due to Cody Pfister's background. If you've seen the fight with James Moutonchi and Joe Ellenberger, he's hella good on the feet. He's able to mix it up, and then also whenever he fought Jordan Rinaldi, he knocked him clean out, made him comatose. So I mean, uh, personally, with my pick, I'm gonna have to take the favorite on this one and say James Moutonchi by decision. I think it's gonna be a good, entertaining fight, especially for the first fight on Fight Pass. And yeah, I just think it's gonna be a hell of a fight. What do you feel about it, Travis?
I off of Moons like James Moonwalker coming off a loss to Joe Ellenberger in decision, and yes, I'm nervous. Sorry if I stutter. Coming off a loss to him, I feel like he's going to come back, want to fight, and I feel like if they stand, it's going to be Moonwalker all day, and I'm going to have to say round 2 TKO Moonwalker. Just because Cody Pfister, it's his UFC debut, he's going to have octagon jitters. Everything about it. On general, Moonwalker round 2 TKO, that's how I feel.
Right on, my man. Yeah, like I said, I just feel like James is going to be a little bit too much for Cody, especially for Cody making his UFC debut. But we both
Yep.
agree that James Mutonchi is going to end up taking it. Just a matter of how he's going to be able to do it. On to the next fight. I feel like this is going to be one to actually sleep on. Zach Fun Size Makovsky is going to be fighting against Tim Elliott. Uh, Good flyweight fight. Both of them are coming off losses. Tim Elliott's going to coming off of a loss to Joseph Benavidez, tapping with his feet to a hell of a guillotine. And Zach McCloskey's coming off of a decision loss against Jussier Formiga. I feel like this is going to be another good fight. A little bit of a sleeper for a lot of people that aren't into ground games, but if just depends on if McCloskey's going to be able to take it to the ground or not. He has a collegiate wrestling background. Turn around and he'll be fighting Tim Elliott. It's going to be one hell of a fight. 11 wins coming by decision for Zach McCloskey. He's been finished on the ground or 3 times by or submission and 2
Yep.
by decision. Then you also have Tim Elliott. I mean, he's 10-5-1. He's a fairly decent fighter, but he was taking control of the fight with Joseph Benavidez on the feet before he just got caught, took him to the ground, and took him into deep waters, especially where Joseph Benavidez shines. Again, this is where we got to pick fights, and I feel like Zach McCloskey's going to end up taking it by decision. He'll end up taking him to the ground a couple times, showing him that he's more of like a dominant fighter. And before the loss with Jussier Formiga, a lot of people were talking about Zach McCloskey coming into title contention. And whether or not he's able to bounce back and win, I feel like he's going to be able to do so. And if Tim Elliott loses his fights, he might get his walking papers. So we'll have to see what happens. But my overall assessment is going to be Zach McCloskey winning by decision. How do you feel about it, Travis?
To be honest with you, I feel like this is going to be a close fight. Fun size in my mind will look to take it to the ground and keep it there. And I feel like he's either going to get the submission on Tim, or he's going to grind out the match and get the decision over Tim Elliott. So I have to go with fun size, either by round free submission or decision. That's basic gist of it all. I got.
There you go. Good assessment for it. For you, only been watching MMA for a month, my man. I'll give you props. Yeah. Then the fight where me and Travis kind of disagree on. This is going to be a good way to sit and talk about it. I got our Chaz Skelly fighting against Jimeilers. Both of them 13-1. They both have identical records. Jimeilers has finished just a little bit more in his career. He has 9 submissions and 2 TKOs, along with Chaz Skelly having 7 submissions, 2 TKOs. The Ehlers has been finished once on the feet, and Chaz Skelly, he lost to Mirsad Bektic, one of the top prospects in the UFC right now. He just fought against Paul Redman. It was a majority decision loss, but it's still one hell of a fight. In my personal opinion, I feel like Chaz Skelly's going to end up taking this. I think he could possibly finish Ehlers on the ground, a TKO victory. If not, I feel like he could win by submission. But if he doesn't win by finish, I still feel like he'd be able to take a decision. You've seen in his past fights, he's able to take it where he wants on the ground, control him. Took a fight on 2 weeks' notice or I believe it was Tulsa, Oklahoma, and he turned around. It was a little bit of a boring fight, but he actually said like the weight cut bothered him, and he just took the fight because he was a businessman. And I feel like Chaz Skelly has all the tools to be a contender in the featherweight division, and I think he's going to end up beating Jim Ehlers. Ehlers hasn't had that UFC experience, or the top-notch experience for fighters, and I feel like Chaz is trained with Team Takedown. He's out of Oklahoma State wrestling. All the signs just point to Chaz Skelly in my eyes winning this fight by any way he wants to, because I feel he's that damn good. Travis, I know you got a totally different opinion about it, so how about you shed some light on us?
A little bit of a different opinion. I mean, Chaz Skelly is nobody to fuck with. He's only lost once, and it was through his UFC debut against Misrad Bektic. Misrad Bektic is a fucking awesome prospect. I mean, I got all mad respect for Chaz Skelly, like, as a fighter. I just can't I can't just say he's going to win. Like, in my mind, it's going to be a good fight, a close fight. But I just see, like, Jim Ehlers grinding it out and getting the decision. That's at least my opinion anyway, because I've watched, like, videos on each one fight. I've watched all that shit. Looked on paper. In my mind, it's either going to be Jim the Beast by submission somewhere in the match or a decision.
And see, I can agree with you for the most part. If that was to happen, I feel like Ehlers could end up catching Skelly because he's a wrestler, and one of the wrestlers' problems that they have is leaving their neck open or just all around getting tapped out. And if Skelly chooses to constantly go for takedowns and he's predictable throughout the whole entire fight, he could get caught with a guillotine or just get caught with a submission in general, especially with Ehlers' 9 submissions that he has out of 13 wins.
Yep.
It seems like it could happen, but again, in my eyes, I feel like there's just too many ways for Skelly to win. And on top of that, Ehlers just hasn't fought in the competition that Chaz has fought in. So we disagree, but it ain't no big deal. That's why we're sitting here doing predictions, and we just got to roll with the flow. Hopefully, one of us is definitely going to be right unless there's a draw. So just got to go with it.
Either way,
On
this
to the
fight's
next.
predicted correct.
Yeah, exactly. Either way, someone's going to be sitting shining high. So ain't not a problem with me. On to the next fight, and this, and personally, in my opinion, is one of the hardest fights to predict throughout the whole entire card. We got Rodrigo de Lima fighting against Efrain Escudero. Efrain's coming off of a loss as well, and on top of that, de Lima's coming off of a loss. De Lima just lost to Neil Magny by second round KO, and Efrain Escudero came off of a loss to Leandro Silva in Brazil by decision. Constantly gave up his back in Brazil, especially to a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. It was just not that great of a fight, and to be honest, it was something that was expected from Escudero because he's just constantly hasn't shown up whenever it's time for him to fight in the UFC. He's 3 for 5, Ultimate Fighter winner. He had all this basically he was on a high. He had everybody saying that he was going to be one of these top-notch fighters, and he was until he just started fighting stiff competition and went on a three-fight lose streak, and then went on a four-fight lose streak. Now he's 22-9. He's a fairly good fighter. He's never been knocked out on his feet before. I just feel personally, he hasn't showed up whenever it's meant to show up. And then you have him fighting against Rodrigo de Lima, which, again, this isn't really someone that we know much about. He made his UFC debut against Neil Magny, and to be knocked out by Neil Magny, it's not a cut down, but Neil doesn't have that or power that you really look for in a fighter. And personally, it's like he just pushes the pressure. Doesn't have the one punch knockout power, but if he tags you a lot, and like he did in the fight, he was getting lit up in the first round and constantly got took down twice. But all in all, it was a decent showcase by Neil Magny. We'll get to him a little bit later, though. Personally, I feel like Escudero might be able to take this, and it's not like he's fighting against stiff competition, but yeah, Escudero, he has that more experience. He's fairly decent on the ground. Don't know if he'll be able to use those tools against the Lima, but definitely feel like he's going to be able to stand up and bang with the Lima and show why he was the Ultimate Fighter winner before. A little bit past his prime, he's turning 30. Just coming around. Hopefully, he's able to make this third run in the UFC something worth his while, to where people remember that he was an Ultimate Fighter winner, etc. But yeah, my pick in this fight's going to be Efrain Escudero. I feel like he's going to end up taking it by decision, give De Lima his first decision loss, and hopefully he's able to get a couple more wins and actually have people or notice him in the UFC. Because right about now, if he loses this fight, he'll end up possibly getting cut again, and it's just a matter of if he goes to Bellator or anywhere else in the MMA circuit. So, Travis, how do you feel about this fight, my man?
I basically agree with you 110% on everything you just said, man. Like on my mind, it's one of the hardest fights on this card to say that someone is going to win 100%. It should be a great fight, be a toss-up, but if I had to choose someone, like if a gun was being held to my fucking head, guy's ready to blow my brains out, he's yelling at me, pick a fighter to win, I'd have to go with fucking Escudero. Probably by decision.
I have to agree with you, my man. I ain't gonna go as far as someone holding a gun to my head, but I definitely feel like Escudero is gonna be able to take this fight, and it's a hell of a lot closer than what people say. The odds, actually, I believe, are Escudero is just a slight favorite at 110, and De Lima's are at 120. Both of them minus, by the way. So, pretty wild. It's dead even. Again, Escudero, I feel, is going to end up taking it by decision. If I seen a finish in this fight, it surprised me a little bit, but in the same sense, the only person that I feel is going to get finished is the Lima, and it would be getting caught by like a submission or possibly getting caught with a punch and just falling, because if you can get knocked out by Neil Magny, anything's possible in MMA. But Neil Magny, as I said, doesn't really have that one punch knockout power. He has like the volume, and he's constantly pushing the pace against you. Always looks to use his jab. So Escudero, he has that experience, and hopefully he lasts another day in the UFC, because I've seen him fight for the past 5 years now, whether it be in or out of the UFC. And I enjoy watching him fight, especially the fight with Mac Danzig. I mean, that was a war in itself. So.
Yeah, I agree with him 100%.
So, on to our final fight of the preliminary card. We got our Levin the Hornet Mashkavelli, and he's fighting against Nick the Carney Lentz. I mean, Mashkavelli is going to be taking this fight on 2 weeks' notice. He's 6-1. He's fought in, I believe, Ring of Combat, which is placed out of New Jersey. It's a smaller MMA organization. He has 3 wins by TKO, 3 wins by decision. He's lost once by decision too, and it was a majority decision. And then he turned around and got that win right back from the opponent that he lost to. So I mean, it shows that he has a lot of heart, and he ain't screwing around when it comes down to it. And then if you ain't screwing around, you can't screw around against Nick Lentz, taking the fight on 2 weeks' notice, my man. It's going to be a tough task to try to fulfill. Nick Lentz 25-6, 2 draws, 1 no contest. Everyone tries to say that he's a boring fighter. me included, to be honest with you. I just feel like he has a lot of tools, and he's talked a lot of smack within his past couple fights, but hasn't really lived up to expectations. But this is one fight where he doesn't need to talk. He don't need to basically do anything but show up that night and beat someone that he's definitively supposed to beat. So with this fight, I feel like Nick Lentz is going to take it all day. He'll be able to choose where the fight goes, and wherever he wants to fight, whether it be on the ground, whether it be standing up, it doesn't matter. I feel like he's going to be able to choose where the fight goes at will and dominate Machiavelli. Maybe I'm not giving him as much of a chance. It's MMA, anything's possible, but all in all, I feel like Lentz is going to be able to take this out 30-27 across the boards, possibly even like a 30-26 with a 10-8 round. Lentz's wrestling's for the featherweight division is fairly good. Not a lot of people I can sit and think of besides the Dennis Bermudez's and the Chad Mendez. People like them, like they've outshined before, and they have good wrestling. But Nick Lentz is definitely up there as well. I just feel like he's going to have way too much for Machiavelli, and he'll end up taking this fight by a dominant decision or a late submission in the fight. Who knows? But all in all, it's Nick Lentz all day. How do you feel about this, Travis?
Obviously, the safe pick here is Nick Lentz. He has more ways to win, more experience, but after watching a couple fights of each fighter, I can't just throw the Hornet out the window. My
Definitely
mind
agree.
is a scrapper. He can get a surprise knockout and surprise everybody. But again, I agree with you 100%. Nick Lentz, hands down, will win this match. I'm going to say by decision, probably.
So I agree with you, my man. Like I said, I feel like Lentz just has too much for him. He has way too much experience. Um, it, Machiavelli's back's up against the wall, but in reality, taking a fight on shoot 2 weeks' notice, you really have nothing to lose, and especially fighting against
Yep.
someone that is top 10, top 15 caliber in the featherweight division. If you beat Nick Lentz, you put yourself up on the mat. Whether you feel like he's a boring fighter, whether you feel like he's an outstanding fighter, doesn't matter. Like that, he's a popular name. He's fought in the lightweight division before. He drops down to 145, does well until he fights against Chad Mendez. I feel like if you beat Nick Lentz, that you're making a name for yourself in the featherweight division, and you'll end up getting a halfway decent fight. It's just a matter of if he can beat him, and I really don't feel like there's a chance for Mashkavelli to turn around and beat him. You might be able to rock him on the feet, but again, like Chad Mendez didn't even knock out Nick Lentz. Chad Mendez didn't push the pressure. I feel like again, Mashkavelli has nothing to lose whatsoever. So hopefully he goes in there all in, balls out, and just wants to throw down and have a war and make the fight entertaining, because that's one thing we usually don't get from Nick Lentz's fights is entertaining. Um, yeah, so that was the 5 fights for the preliminary card. Hope you guys enjoyed our breakdown. This is the first time we're doing it, and we'll be back within the next day or two for part 2, going into the main card. A couple good fights to look forward to, guys. It's one hell of a card for it being on Fox Sports 1, and we were supposed to have Matt Brown as the main event against Tarek Safadine, but Tarek pulled out. Then we had Wonderboy Thompson moved up for Brandon Thatch. That got scrapped. So we got one hell of a main event for Benson Henderson moving up to welterweight against Brandon Thatch. And the co-main event, we got Max Holloway fighting against Cole Miller. So, I mean, these fights, for it being on Fox Sports 1 and free, it'll be able to hold us down until UFC 184 with Rousey and Cincano. Again, injury bug for MMA has just been nonstop. Chris Weidman was supposed to be on that card, and we just keep getting screwed over day by day. But in between there, we'll have Frank Mir and Bigfoot. Just a bunch of kick-ass fights for us to look forward to. If you guys are MMA fans and you guys are interested in hearing what we have to say, please tune in more. And yeah, if you guys want to get at us on Twitter, my Twitter name's Frank_Hoffman. Um, just tweet me, follow me, just give me your opinion on fights. Give me your opinion on whether or not you feel I'm right or wrong. And I like to shoot shit with people on MMA constantly, so I'm available 24/7. Don't matter what time. And
He's no
Travis,
life.
if you wanna, yeah, I was just gonna say I'm a no life when it comes to this sport. It's hands down. I love it to death, and I turn around and talk about it with people all the time. But Travis, if you want to turn around and give your Twitter handle out and give your opinion on today's little show, be awesome.
Yeah. So my Twitter handle is at Travis_Koci. That's Koci. As you can see over there, I'm on the left part of the screen. I'm the beautiful one on the screen here. Yeah, and as you can see on my Twitter page, I actually say I'm a casual fan looking to get more into the sport. So if you want to just talk to me about anything, like any of the fights coming up, any fights that are on the next card, previous fights, hit me up. I'm always interested in learning more about the sport.
Exactly. I was just
Yeah.
going to say, for him being a casual fan and catching on for about a month, he's always listened to what I have to say about the sport for the past couple years that we've been sitting bullshitting, and finally he's starting to get into it. And whether you guys want to talk to him about fighters that are be coming up on upcoming fights, if you guys feel like there's a fighter to watch out for in general, don't hesitate to just sit and let him know because he'll take constructive criticism just like I do. If you guys feel like there's a fight that you want to happen and like a dream fight, uh, don't bother me at all. Like anything that you guys are willing to talk about on Twitter, just shoot it at me, Frank_Hoffman. And like I said, I'm available 24/7. He's available 8 hours a day because he sleeps for 16. So I mean, just
Hey,
go with the
my
flow and
favorite Pokemon, Snorlax. That's what I do.
yeah. But so that's it for the preliminary breakdown. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and please, if you guys did, leave a like, comment below, share this on Twitter or Facebook. Don't matter where it's at. The more the better, and please tune in for the main card. That'll end up being up more than likely tomorrow, and then we'll end up doing a third podcast where we'll give our counter move, DraftKings, and the overall assessments of how the odds are looking for the fights as well, and give a couple parlays that we feel could end up possibly doing well. And yeah, if you guys are interested, like I said, I can't stress it enough. Hit us up on Twitter, hit us up in the comment section below, and just we'll roll with the punches. We like constructive criticism, and we like to hear what you guys have to say. So thank you very much for joining us, and we hope you guys have an awesome day, and take care.
Yep. Peace out, guys.